What's up, guys? It is Trevor. Welcome to the podcast again. This week, I did a podcast with the Beautiful Bastards. They were fun guys to hang out with, and I think we did a good podcast, and I'd like to share it here as well for you guys. So thanks for listening, and enjoy the Beautiful Bastards.
What is happening, you beautiful bastards? This week, we talked to a guy. His name doesn't really fucking matter, but it's Trevor.
That's right.
Jerry.
And it doesn't matter because he's kind of like a superhero in that he wears a mask. He has a secret identity, which is Trevor. I have no idea who he is, but we do know he is a, what is this term in medical fields, Grizz?
Student? Intern?
No. Is it an intern?
Yeah.
No, it's got some other name. Anyway, he's a med student.
He's in residency,
That's
isn't
what it is. Residency. Yeah. See, I'm not a medical professional. So he's in residency in a hospital in New York. And we talk about all kinds of things, the things that he's seeing with COVID, the things that he's seeing that are just not professional. And we talk a little bit about why he has a secret identity on his internet podcast.
He's a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoy this one. We kind of go everywhere.
Yeah, we do. So let's roll it.
What is happening, you beautiful bastards?
How's it going, guys?
What's happening?
Not much.
Is this your thing with the mask?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm applying to residency still,
Okay.
and we say some like wild shit on our podcast. So
right.
the less you have your name associated with things online, just the better you're off.
I was actually wondering about that.
Oh, because you had seen it. So, and another thing, medical students literally just erase all their social media before they apply to residency. Like,
Good
Which
call.
you should.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was like, all right, maybe just change your name or like delete bad things, but no, they're like, just delete it all. I'm like, all right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was interested in, because I was reading your profile and checking out kind of like roughly what your podcast is about, and I'm like, this guy's a medical student, and it's kind of a bad time to have ideas that don't line up with the norm.
Oh man. Yeah, you're telling me, dude. I mean, luckily, I guess my ideas kind of do fit with the norm a little bit as far as like medical understanding goes, like the vaccine and things like that. So it's kind of, I guess annoying to explain it to people, but it's an important thing for people to understand. So, you have to, it's really important now more than ever to explain those kinds of things and your understanding of them. And, it's extra annoying to see, in the medical field, like some of your colleagues, like don't agree with, things like that. And it's hard to like, you start to explain the basics of the things like, you understand this, right? And they're like, oh yeah, of course. And then, but they're just like, well, I still don't like it, and that stuff's pretty annoying. But yeah, as far as just like, I mean, our podcast is called Unprofessional, and yeah, sometimes you feel like a little bit stifled by some, saying some things.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just how it is. And honestly, there's good reasons for that too. At some point too, if you just started talking shit about everyone, that's maybe not the best thing to do. You're a doctor, but
That's where I've been fucking up.
yeah, exactly. Why does nobody like me?
Do you know what aspect of medicine you're trying to get into?
Yeah, I'm trying to do emergency medicine. I've always just thought that was like the coolest thing.
Luck to you. Hopefully you
Poor
get a
bastard.
stomach.
Yeah. You guys are beautiful. I'm the poor one.
Yeah, I was just saying you're gonna have no money for a while, and you're gonna hate people in like 5 years. It's fine.
Yeah, well, it's tough to see. A lot of the attendings and even residents. They just so already just hate the world already, kind of a thing, or
It's hard not to.
Yeah, I mean, especially in those scenarios, and especially after like the pandemic hit, and I didn't see the brunt of it, where everyone was coming in and everyone was going on ventilators and people were just like dying on ventilators. Some of it just from the mass of people and the stress on the medical system, they're just like, look, this person died literally because we weren't able to have enough people to check their ventilator and they just passed away when we could have just changed settings, like that kind of crazy stuff. So I, that would hit anybody, but, and then people like, screaming at you on top of it, and you do that like day after day.
Mhm.
I can't imagine,
I mean, a lot of the medical field before this was already burnt out from people. Like my wife worked in emergency, and all of her friends are nurses and doctors and such, and they all worked, and they're already like on the edge of just people suck because they're trying to do their job. They're trying to help you, and you're just treating them like crap.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so you
and then all of a sudden now you tack all this bullshit on. Now they're just like, yeah, fuck it, I don't care.
wild, yeah.
I'm gonna
yeah.
do my job, but yeah.
Yeah, if you go in with a light skin on this stuff, it's gonna be a long career. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
And there's some sage advice given to me the other day just by one of the attendings. There's a few gems that you see where you're like, I need to listen to this guy because he still likes his life, and he's been through all this stuff. And he was just like, look, especially in emergency medicine, it's a long career. There's always going to be someone like flatlining or alarm going off, or someone yelling at you. If you are always jumping up immediately to attend to that thing, as bad as it sounds to not do that, like you're going to burn out instantly. So take your time, arrange your desk when you get there, figure things out, and do 2 notes, see 2 patients, 2 notes, see 2 patients, boom, and I was like, dang, he's probably right.
Well, there's also a lot of staff there that they get there quick and they're getting everything set up before you even get there at all.
Yeah, crazy thing about New York is it's just so overwhelmed. There's such staff issues and things like that. I'm not from here, so just coming here and just seeing it is just like, it's insane. So like the people don't even have stuff set up when you get there. Like some of the residents and attendings, like if they don't go ahead and set up the resuscitation room beforehand, the patient would get there and there's just the equipment isn't ready. And it's like, okay, this patient literally died today because I didn't have an intubation tube of the appropriate size. I had a pediatric one instead, so they have to get there early and attend to that, and
yeah, that's more of a background system that that hospital might not have.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, like a bunch of them are just kind of, I guess, poor in this area. I don't fully understand the system concept, but yeah. It's
well, so that's one thing that you'll probably find out coming up soon. Hospital to hospital differs a lot.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I've only experienced a few, but
through my wife, because I don't have a clue. I don't work in the medical field, but through her, she went from one hospital that didn't have much money, but it had the right people, and they would bust their ass and have everything they needed to do and worked miracles with nothing. And then she went to another hospital that had tons of money, but couldn't do nearly the work because people, the resource of human couldn't catch up or couldn't do anything because they were lazy.
We found out, Grizz, we found out during the pandemic that you can just refer to them as human capital stock.
Oh, Jesus. I just cattle.
It's a resource now. Don't you get it?
So Grizz, you derailed me. I don't want to get you too off track here. I just want to come back for a quick second. Trevor, is this a secret identity? The whole thing?
The whole thing, baby. I feel like Batman or something, but no one cares.
Even better. All right, here's one that I really want. Well, Jerry, ask your question, then I got one for him.
I was just looking at the last name because before you came in, I said Greenbaum. That sounds Jewish. And now that I find out this is a secret identity, I'm thinking, like Bilderberg Group type of stuff, Illuminati. Because that's the theory.
Yeah.
It's all
the
Illuminati.
Jewish power. The Illuminati funds me. Yeah, you guys figured it out. And it goes way back. Yeah. There's a lot going on behind the scenes you guys don't know
about. So one thing that I always have for all the doctors, and some of them answer truthfully and some don't answer at all, has to do with the opioid crisis or whatever you want to call it.
Yes. How many drugs are you on?
So I'm on 3. No, I mean, it's a side note. It's interesting to see, what kind of like, I guess, different specialties kind of like, I don't know, have different personalities and maybe, do different drugs type of a thing. I don't have enough examples yet, but you kind of started to like see patterns as you go along. But the opioid epidemic, that's what we're talking about.
My thing is, how do you think you're gonna get to it? I always think there's going to be a point for me, again, not in the medical field, I don't actually care about people, that you would have so many come in and they don't actually want to be saved. Right? They don't want the Narcan because you're going to ruin their high. They just want to die. there's a point in my mind where I sit there and I'm like, why don't I just let them? They don't want me to save them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've had doctors honestly answer me and be like, yeah, I get that, but I have to. So I do it.
Yeah.
But they don't want to.
A lot of the stuff, especially as physicians, comes down to not even your opinions on the world or how anything works. It's just, am I going to get sued for this or not type of thing. So, I mean, it sounds really sad, but you have a little bit more leeway with your decisions when it comes to like when you're in the poorest areas and like the patient education just isn't very high, because you're like, look, I could kind of do whatever and it'll end up fine. But, you know, hopefully you don't take advantage of that and you actually make, you know, a moral decision. But yeah. I mean, yeah, as far as like Narcan and stuff, you just give that because it's like an emergency situation and it's just the next move. But yeah, I mean, with a lot of that stuff, you know, especially it comes more to like chronic, taking care of people chronically, and they come in and like, look, I want more opioids, you know, this and that. Or it's when you first start prescribing the opioids, that's where the real issue is. That's how people get addicted, right? They get started on it. So you just got to be wary of that. But it's so easy to just say that because this person's coming in and like, look, my pain is 10 out of 10. I'm in the worst pain of my life. I can't take it anymore. And you feel empathetic, you know, and you're like, I got to help this person. And then now they're addicted to opioids, you know? So, and again, that's not even your decision. Let's say you had that decision to make. You don't really even have that decision. The hospital system kind of has like an idea, like, look, if they feel pain, give it to them. Like, I mean, if it's within reasonable limits, but yeah,
you end up knowing who.
Yeah. Some of the doctors have a really good idea. It's kind of cool to pick their brains on that. But
now,
like
so Trevor, on that topic, I don't want to pinpoint you too much, but you're in like the early 20s or late 20s or what?
Yeah, 27.
Okay. All right. So you're not really that far behind me. I'm 30. I just turned 33. Grizz is old as fuck. But now that you're in the medical field, I don't really know what your background is or your personal interests, but
sure.
Have you really given any thought to like how the war on drugs developed into the situation that you have to work in now?
I mean, not really, because a lot of it's kind of either taking care of itself or just in a whole different realm than I'm in, you know. I'm just kind of taking care of like the blowback of whatever that happens. I mean, and I was kind of like born into it. I didn't like experience the beginning of it by any means with you know, what's his face, Republican face. But yeah. But I do have a bunch of older brothers who I actually like you guys' age. And so, you know, I just kind of like learn through them and those types of things. But no, I don't know. I kind of just deal with the blowback of it. And, you know, I mean, honestly, I learned a lot about drugs and illicit drugs through my brothers, like just them telling me about stuff. And I wouldn't know as much if I hadn't learned from them, you know, so it's kind of funny.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
You're in a hospital now, you said, right?
Yep. So I'm in a hospital in Brooklyn, New York. And yeah, I mean, it's way different. It's like if you went to a hospital in Minnesota, that's where I'm from, compared to here, you know, it's just like a whole different world.
You went from 0 to 100. Like
0 to 100 real fast. Yeah. Not that like emergency rooms in like St. Paul or Minneapolis aren't, you know, got something going for them too. That's more of like, honestly, you see a lot of just like meth heads and stuff. It's kind of random, but it's true. And I mean, among other things, you know, but, and then here it's a lot of just like, you know, diabetics who don't take their medication and just a lot of people who just don't take care of themselves. And then just like, don't take your medical advice, you know? So it's really frustrating. I mean, I'm not really giving it yet because I'm a medical student, but it's really frustrating to see just like someone coming in again and again. It's like, just take your insulin, like just put it in your body. Like, yeah.
You're gonna never see the end of that.
Oh yeah. They're like, yo, gear up if that bothers you.
yeah, seriously, especially with the diabetics.
Yeah, Grizz and I have found, you know, not in the medical field, just through our travels in life that, just a couple of assholes like everybody else. You know, most people that we come across, on average, they're pretty stupid.
Pretty dumb, man. Pretty dumb. Makes me feel real good about myself. Yeah, and luckily all my older brothers set the bar real low for me. So like, as long as I hit, you know, MD, then my parents are just like, look, you can have the fucking bank. Like, it's all good.
I wonder sometimes though, when it comes to like the medical stuff, I mean, because you do have people varying in education, like everyone I talk to, when you're sitting there, I have no clue what you guys are saying. You need to do all that. What? It's a different language.
I mean, you said it. I was about to mention it. One of the attendings brought it up. He's like, look, I mean, you guys just spent the last now it's 4 years learning a different language, and then being able to apply it. So, figure that out. And then now really focus on being able to apply it in all these different scenarios and learn from experience. Because I mean, that's another thing. We have very little experience up to this point, but I mean, some of these kids are so smart. Like I'm pretty dumb compared to some of these guys. I mean, I worked really hard and I've learned my stuff, but some of these guys just get it, like that. But
but they don't know how to talk to a wall.
Dude, I mean, you're telling me. We just mentioned it, and we just recorded the last podcast. We haven't posted it yet, but that's what we talk about. They were talking to my buddy, who's also he's very smart compared to me, but he's applying, right? And then he was talking to an attending physician, and she's like, "Look, you're obviously smart, and you seem normal, and I'm gonna do everything I can to like give you letters of recommendation and stuff like that." And he's like, that's all it took just to seem normal like that. She literally said those words. And I'm like, I guess, man. I mean, there's some weird people. There's definitely some goofballs.
Yeah, I mean, meeting doctors that my wife's worked with, some of them, you literally, if it's not medical, you can't have a conversation with them. It's just, it's not there. It's weird.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're definitely there with it. Yeah, it's wild, honestly.
I know a few people, not nearly as many as Grizz, that went into the medical field. Almost universally, they hate it.
You're the dumb one, Jerry, or
yeah. I'm just look. I'm sitting on a blank background talking to someone with a secret identity. I'm not that smart.
Yeah, look, we didn't make it far.
We took a wrong turn somewhere in life.
I'm glad to be here with you.
All the smart ones seem like they really hate their job. Well, I'm much happier than they are. Now that's got me wondering why someone like you would go into that field. Did you not know about this ahead of time? That life sucks.
I don't.
Bro, nobody warned me. No one warned me, and I'm too far. No.
I have way too much debt.
Dude. You guys want to I might have just said it, but did you guys mention, just guess, one guess, my debt right now, 4 years of medical school.
Where'd you go?
I went to university. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm a secret. But I went to St. George's University for medical school. It's in the Caribbean.
In the Caribbean? That sounds like you might have got a good deal.
It's the middle ground as far as medical school price.
I'm going to say 120.
You said 4 years?
120? Okay. Yeah, 4 years of medical school.
You said what?
Plus undergrad. This is plus undergrad.
Yeah.
And
I'm going 120, Chris. What's your guess?
I'm going 210.
210. 400K, baby.
That's where I was headed towards, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna lowball this.
That's okay, Trevor. I don't like money either.
I hate myself. So it works out great. 400K principal, 12,000 interest. But luckily, COVID happened. I'm probably the only person who can say that, and our school loan interest stopped during that time. So I'm blessed.
Now, how do you feel about your job prospects and your future? Looking at, you're starting out with $400,000 in debt. My house isn't even worth that much.
Right. Yeah, it's a mortgage, baby. A good one.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that sucks. And people tell you, oh, it's going to be a lot of work and you're going to have to spend a lot of money, and you're like, okay, I get it. I'm going to do it anyway. And if you have to have that attitude going into it, otherwise you're not going to make it, kind of.
Yeah, you got to have your heart in it. There's no doubt about that. You really got to want to make the money after you've paid all the money. Yeah,
and even then, if you're smart enough, you don't go into medicine if you want money.
Yeah.
But with that said, I am going to make plenty when I get out of this. Residency pays whatever 70K, which isn't that much, and that's the 3 to 4 years for EM. But then once you get out, I mean, average salary right now is $300,000 a year for emergency medicine. So, hey, I'm going to be able to eat. That's for sure. So, yeah, I guess from that perspective, it's annoying, but I signed up for this. It kind of is what it is. I'm just thankful to be here at this point.
All right. So you were in school when COVID hit, right?
Yeah.
Did you see like any students just bail out and say, yeah, I'm not dealing with this?
No, because we didn't see it firsthand. So we were in the Caribbean at the time at school, and it's a really nice place to be. But so COVID hit, and we were hearing all the stuff, right? And they were just like, "All right, you all have to go home now." We're like, "What?" There's like 3,000 students on this island in the middle of the Caribbean, and we have no infrastructure. And they're like, "Yep, we're bringing a bunch of air flights here, and you guys just get on them." We're like, "Jesus, okay." Like, sold my motorcycle in 24 hours. Like, I packed up all my stuff into suitcases, just left the rest. And we bailed because they just, there's like 2 ventilators on the island.
Yeah.
But no, so we didn't really see it, a lot of the stuff you just kind of ignore it and go, I want to be a doctor, for better or worse. And it's not as beautiful as it sounds. It's more of just, you're like, screw it, I'll just do it anyway, even though there's all these red flags. It's almost like, oh, I'm gonna get into this bad relationship just because it looks nice, rather than like, I want to save the world. People say that, but I just don't believe them, most of the time.
I think some people are there, they just haven't had it burnt out of them yet. That's all.
Sure. Yeah, there's some beautiful people there too, there's not, everyone thinks they are, and it's like, okay, sure,
yeah, once shit hits the fan, then it all changes.
right. Yeah, it's like, oh, and then you look at your salary or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, you're such a hero now.
Well, the world needs doctors, so I appreciate that you were dumb enough to do it, but smart enough to pass.
I got you, Jerry.
So how do you dealing with people in the hospital now, and you said this, a lot of your coworkers are like, I don't know, I'll call them anti-vax, right?
Sure.
They're all getting fired now, but before that, how did you guys who were of sound mind deal with that situation?
So a lot of those people didn't really like spew it out. It's like, hey, I think the vaccine's bullshit. They just kind of hid. Yeah, they were quiet about it and didn't say anything. So then once the mandate came in, even then people would be like, oh yeah, I'm vaccinated. And then you'd find out like a week later, like they either got dropped or they had to get vaccinated, but yeah, a lot of them just kept quiet. Is that the number?
That's what I heard.
Okay,
that's New York wide though. That's not just New York City.
No, I believe it. And I'm guessing that's including like nurses and everyone, right?
Yeah, you all get lumped into the same thing.
What was the number you said, Chris?
CNA 70,000.
70,000 that what, got fired?
Staff that got fired.
Oh shit, that's a huge fucking number.
That's a lot, yeah.
Let me confirm.
God, Chris, can you pull that up for me? Thanks.
I'm getting there, working.
Chris, prove that shit.
But I mean, they're just quiet, and it's funny. I mean, we talked about it in one of our podcasts, but there's like, this one medical student who was mentioning it but he wasn't mentioning it unless we'd like pull it out of him, and then even then it wasn't based on like sound things. Every time you kind of like got him in circular logic, he's like, look, I don't like it, and it's scary, and I don't want to do it. And it's like, how can I like blame you too much for that?
That instance, I can understand.
Yeah, like I get it, and he's not going around telling everyone to not take it, so I guess it's not too bad. With that said, you have a greater chance of affecting other people now, and that's not okay. So I get, things haven't been done in the best way possible, obviously by the government and everything, but the vaccine is good, is the bottom line.
We agree. We're both vaccinated, but I know if you talk to people on like the extreme liberal side, they'll tell you if you're against the vaccine, then you deserve to die. I think that's a little bit extreme. The whole kill yourself thing. But I
agree with that.
As an American, I value the freedom of choice. The freedom that we have here, which a lot of other countries have it too. But this whole blaming them for like the continuing pandemic, I don't think that's really a valid point. It's probably worse because they're not getting vaccinated.
Sure.
But if you're just a random guy who's like, I don't want to get the vaccine, you do your thing, I'm just not going to get it. Well, that's not a good choice for him, in my opinion, but he's not actively telling other people to stop and, adding to growing that idea. I think a lot of it is just misunderstanding. A perfect example is I read a company email recently. I won't say it's from my company. It was just a company email that I read where a higher up official in the company was saying They were basically trying to appease the people who were anti-vax. And what they said in the email was the mRNA vaccine is new technology. Understand your apprehension, but we think you should get it. Well, that sort of thing right there, I want to point out is totally wrong and really a bad way to approach this, because mRNA vaccines are not new technology. They've been around since the 80s. So even on a professional level, people are getting the wrong information and they find out later, well, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that leave them?
That's
they have
that's
no
the
idea
whole
where to get
world
info.
right
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's try not to appease people, but also have understanding is kind of like, I guess, the way to go. I don't know how I would do it from like a corporate standpoint. I'd probably just be like, yo, you guys got to get this or you're gone or something. But
well, that's where we're at now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're seeing it. So, and healthcare workers, I mean, I totally get that. I mean, you are directly impacting, your patients by doing that. And you are, if you're a civilian too, but this is America. So, I get it. But yeah, if you're a healthcare worker and you understand it and you're still against it, all right, you have every right to not get it, but you can't work here. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the idea of mandates. And going backwards, so they were saying 83,000 people were not fully vaccinated, medical workers in New York. So what number actually got vaccinated after a mandate, I have no clue. But that was the number that they put out for wasn't vaccinated when the mandate started. I don't like the idea of a mandate, right? Like if you want to get it, if you don't, fine. But like working in a hospital, they had the flu vaccine. You either have to get the flu vaccine or you have to wear a mask whenever you're in there. That's been a
thing. Yeah.
That's been a thing for years, but so do I understand why they're trying to do them? Yeah. But do I like it? No. But I'm vaccinated, so I don't really give a shit.
Grizz, I take personal offense by what you're saying right now. Let me explain myself. Because obviously I'm vaccinated, so I mostly agree with you. But let's talk about social media for a second with you, Grizz. You're a big proponent of you're not going to hide from big tech. They're going to get your information, so who gives a shit if they're tracking you if you have nothing to hide?
That's right.
So if you have nothing to hide, let them track you. That's, for one, a terrible stance, which you know that I feel that way. But so that translates directly to saying something like, I have nothing to say, so I don't care about free speech.
Okay. I don't agree, but fine.
You don't agree with that?
Because freedom of speech, like, even though you're saying because I don't have a problem with freedom of speech, you can get rid of it. This is not the same as big tech. No matter what you do, is already going to have your information.
Yeah, so that's a violation of your privacy. I'll tie this back into what you were saying in a second. But that is a violation of your privacy, which you're okay with because it's inevitable and you have nothing to hide.
Yes,
right?
That big word, inevitable.
Yes, it's inevitable and you have nothing to hide. So little guy Grizz isn't going to fight the system. But then we're talking about these mandates, and you don't agree with mandates because it's a violation of rights, but you're perfectly fine giving up your privacy.
It's not that I'm
Where are you? I'm getting mixed signals. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not fine with giving up your privacy. The problem is it's already gone. That's where I say, it's gone. What does it matter? Right now, because we're having this conversation, I will get ads later about the vaccine.
Trevor, we need a mediator. Is Grizz an idiot?
Yes, I am. But that's besides the point.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion, Jerry.
Dude, we've done episodes on all sorts of stuff. Later on that evening, I'll have an ad on my phone for it.
Yeah,
that's how bad it is.
That is wild. Yeah.
And so my point to Jerry doesn't like big tech being in his life, and he's against it because he's really a fucking hipster. But that's fine. And
can you tell by my gray hair? My hair is actually black. This is not my natural hair color.
Yeah, I don't know. He wanted to be older. It's weird. But so my point is, with all of that, you can't get away from it, right? If you do Jerry and I worked together. That's how we met, where we'd literally be standing next to her. So Jerry could have done everything possible that he wanted to do to stay away from big tech, but because I had it, it didn't matter. So that's kind of comparable to the vaccine, I guess.
Exactly, because I could be standing right next to you and someone who's not vaccinated, and because they're not vaccinated, we're exposed.
Yeah, but you're still okay because you're vaccinated. That's the other thing that I have issue with everything is if you're looking at all the medical crap that the media is putting out right now, no one outside of the medical field can get a really good feel of how anything's going.
I have
we
no
just
idea
think
what's
the
happening.
world is burning down and we're all fucked. But if you actually look at the hardcore numbers, you're like, oh, okay, never mind. I'm going to go outside.
Speaking
Well, and
of numbers, yeah. Go ahead,
sometimes
Trevor.
like when you look at the numbers, it's sometimes it's hard to comprehend. Like, look, if you just see like a 10,000, you're like, I don't know if that's a lot for this thing or a little for this thing, you know? So especially as someone who's not even in medicine, it's like, how could you even know where to ask questions, let alone what numbers mean? And, you know, and when you're actually in there and you see, you know, I'm in the ICU right now, and like you see, look, this person's literally dying on a ventilator and it's due to COVID. You know, you're just like, it's hard to explain that to somebody and then they just completely understand it. You know, they didn't see it, you know, but you kind of are just seeing it every day.
Have you had anyone ask for the vaccine after they got COVID?
Oh yeah. Almost every time.
Really?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Almost every time.
Like right there is
Hey,
proof in the pudding.
yeah. Just like, you know, it's one of the first questions, like, you know, whatever, I'm feeling myalgias, I have fever, I have the, you know, obvious COVID symptoms, you know, and you're like, okay, so it's probably COVID. We'll do an extra chest x-ray, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, would you know, it's probably COVID, I'm sorry to say. And then we test them. Okay, yeah, you have COVID. Would you like the vaccine now? And they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. You know, because they're scared, you know.
But I mean, at that point, what is it going to do?
So let's say you get COVID. It will decrease the severity of future COVID if you get it again, because it sounds you can get it again.
But you're talking about like
the same
solo
thing
guy
with getting the vaccine. So if you get COVID and then you give the vaccine, I guess it's just doubling down on it. I'm no expert on that as far as that goes, but that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, because my thought was if you were getting, so you get the vaccine, your body's used to it, and then you come by COVID, it already knows how to fight it off. That's why realistically what it's doing is it's reducing the severity of our cases, right?
Right. And that's like the linear progression is my understanding too. I, for instance, have gotten the vaccine, gotten COVID and gotten COVID again. So
nice.
I mean, what are we doing here?
Was it progressively less severe when you know, as you got the vaccine, which I don't know if you had any symptoms or not, then you got COVID. How was your first and second run of COVID as a person who was vaccinated?
Sure. So for me, had symptoms of the vaccine, just kind of had a shitty night of sleep. And then got COVID, and we'll say it was like a 5 out of 10 on annoyingness or whatever. And then I didn't have the worst symptoms for any of this. And then
scale, I like it.
Yeah. Tried and true. And then I got it again, and I would say it was about the same. Honestly, I don't think it was reduced. It was about the same as last time. So, and then my cough kind of lingered for a long time. But I mean, it's just and I haven't looked at the numbers. I'm just studying all the time for non-COVID things. But I'm guessing that the numbers are coming in and that it's probably showing that there's decreased severity in people who have gotten the vaccine with COVID. And I'm guessing it's also showing that there's decreased, I'm foggy right now, but getting the COVID illness.
So the numbers that I saw last that were real numbers, not from like a media outlet, was getting it was 1 in 8 unvaccinated, getting it bad unvaccinated was 1 in 65, and then getting it vaccinated was like 1 in 365,000.
Oh Jesus, that's huge.
And then getting it bad and vaccinated is like 1 in some ungodly number. So those are numbers that like most people who've gone through elementary school can understand.
Right. I mean, that's right there. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And then let's say you hear one person say, doesn't give those numbers, but just says, hey, you should get vaccinated. One person that says, hey, you shouldn't get vaccinated. That's different. Now you're just like, I don't know who to listen to. I'll listen to the person I'm closer to, you know? So I get that. Like, but you know, if you look into it, obviously you'll have, you know, real numbers and things to look at, but you know, people don't care, and I don't blame them. Like, yeah, I got shit to do. I got to make money today, you know? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing we did an anti-vax episode very early. And
you should rephrase that.
What?
You said we did an anti-vax. You should rephrase that.
We weren't doing it being anti-vax. We were talking about anti-vaxxers very early. Like this was a year ago.
It was last year. Yeah.
And one thing that we found, a lot of it just had to do with the fact that people just didn't know what the hell they were talking, like what it was. If you give them a class and you teach them about it, I think that what came out of it was like 80% of them were after the class would get the vaccine.
But then people would be like, "Oh, you're gonna make me do this class? Like this is bull," you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, that's my whole problem with the mandate, though. You know, if you change around, and you force someone to do it. Those people on the fence, all right, fine, they're probably going to do it, right? They want to keep their job, they want to keep their livelihood. Those people who are on the far end, they're not. They're going to buck hard, and they're going to double down on what they're already doing.
Yeah, I know people personally that are perfectly willing to accept getting fired coming up in the next couple of months because they don't want to get it.
which is wild. What
yeah,
a
that really,
crazy
blows
thing
my
to
mind.
live and die for right there. That's
Yeah.
But
Hey,
they feel that strong. That shows how strong they feel about it. You know,
yeah, it's interesting. Interesting.
it
time.
is. Dude, right now we live in a fascinating time. So
We were talking off air recently, and maybe you'll be able to speak to this, but we know a lot of people who are against the vaccine, whether, varying degrees of such. And one thing that keeps coming up is COVID-related death. I'm sure you've heard that term, right? Dying of COVID complications, or however they word it on the news or on the death certificate. How prevalent is it really that people are dying, they just happen to have COVID, and it's written up as because of COVID is the reason that they died, when really it was like they had a staph infection and just happened to have COVID at the same time?
Sure. Yeah, I can speak on this a little more. So when it comes to cause of death, there's only so many things that even come up in the first place. Okay. So like your heart stops, for instance. Yeah, it's got, more scientific language than that. Or, your lungs aren't
keep
working.
it dumbed down. All right.
Yeah.
You're getting past my limit right now.
So yeah, like your heart stops, or so you're not getting circulation anywhere, or your lungs aren't working, or whatever, like your acid base level is off the charts, things like that. Those are the only ways you can really die. So if we're really breaking it down to that, yeah, let's say you got syphilis and whatever, this is a long time ago if you're dying from syphilis, but you got syphilis and like you let it ride out and you die from that, right? You're not going to die of syphilis. You're dying because your lungs stopped working or something, and that is secondary to, that's what we call it, secondary to your illness, syphilis. So, and let's say you have multiple things, right? Let's say you have, God, why did I use syphilis? But let's say you have syphilis and like
keep rolling with syphilis. It's good.
and a bunch of other stuff, right? A bunch of other comorbidities. You have congestive heart failure. You have whatever, some kind of respiratory thing, COPD, all these other things, diabetes, right? And then, you eventually die. You go into cardiac arrest or something. Yeah, we have like multiple things that are indicating you can die of cardiac arrest due to these things, diabetes, for instance. But, and we can say secondary to, diabetes. But at the end of the day, you to know specifically, you'd have to like do an autopsy and do all these other things. And, what are we going to do that when there's like 1,000 people dying each day of like, COVID related things? And the bottom line is, if you see people coming in, they have COVID, they're not breathing, and they haven't had something like this happen before, or it's like an extreme exacerbation of their COPD, and you're like, okay, the only thing that has changed here is they have COVID, as far as I know. So then, you put them on the ventilator or whatever, and they deteriorate. It's like, all right, this is likely due to COVID. And I'll give it to, whoever the other side is, I guess. Like in the beginning, especially, you don't know for sure that you're dealing with a new illness. Like to expect, doctors are very good at what they do and they know a lot of things, but you give them a new thing that they haven't seen before. And yeah, we've known coronavirus, we've known these things, but like it's doing different things than we've experienced. So until we come out with research, until we've come out with numbers, that's the whole point of science. It takes time, and to expect people to know exactly what's going on and to be able to relate every death according to its thing, is another issue. And one more point, I was going long, but when we had COVID happening initially and we were putting people on ventilators, like I said, the medical system was like maxed out. And, now we're starting to realize maybe we shouldn't have put people on all these ventilators. One, because we couldn't keep track of all of them, because it takes, a lot of people to control all these things. But, it's not the best method unless, certain criteria are met. But we were trying to be safe and like put people under and then give them these ventilators and stuff. And really, we're starting to realize that it's probably making things worse. Not that we don't put people with COVID on ventilators, but it's under more strict criteria now.
Right.
We figured more things out. So
all right.
That's
So
kind of how I break it down.
For the sake of this
on
argument
top of that,
too.
though,
Oh, sorry, Grizz. I just want to get this out of the way first. for the sake of this argument too, and the what do we want to call them? The COVID, the vaccine opposition, I guess. I'll break it down simple to a yes or no. I know you can't speak for the entire country, but where you've worked, are records being falsified to say this person died of COVID just to, I guess, bolster the argument to get the vaccine?
Okay. As far as I understand, I mean, that's the cause of death is up to the physician who's writing the thing.
Right.
Bottom line. Have I seen people do that specifically to bolster numbers? No. But have I seen people falsify documents? Yes, for sure. Every single day. I mean, sometimes in smaller ways, sometimes in larger ways. Right. But I mean, that's a pretty wild thing to do to be like, oh, I'm just going to put this secondary to COVID just so I can up the numbers. I haven't seen anyone do that. I haven't seen anyone care enough to really do that. Even people who are like, that I've seen anyway, I can only speak for people I've seen, but who are super, oh my God, I can't believe we're not vaccinating everybody. What's going on? Even they, I don't know. I haven't seen them just like, be like, hey, look what I'm doing. I'm bolstering numbers, and people, it's funny, like when you're in it, like there's not a lot of secrets that are kept, you kind of know a lot of dirt on a lot of people,
It's crazy like that.
Yeah. And people people talk about like the moon landing, it could have been staged or something, but the fact that it would have gotten out by somebody, it just people gossip. That's just what people do.
Yeah. When you're talking about an organization of people, it's really hard to keep a secret that serious.
Yeah.
My thing that I kind of equated it to was there's two things. A, COVID does a lot of shit to your body that's fucked up, and it can cause
and we still don't even know
the whole body. I just started a research paper on hemorrhagic encephalopathy induced possibly secondary to COVID, because we just ruled out all the other things that it could have possibly been, and we got it down to the trauma because the guy fell from a seizure that can cause head bleeding, right? But it didn't seem like enough, and it was more likely that it was due to the virus. So,
but that's my thing.
It can cause anything.
Yeah, all right. So if you actually get into like what COVID's doing with your lungs, it has more to do with its sludging of your blood, and that it has something to do with what's the fluid between your
plasma?
Lungs? What the? No.
Oh, sorry, the pleural fluid. Yeah.
Yes. So has something to do with the actual diffusion between the pleural fluid. We're getting way past Jerry. I can tell he's gone.
Jerry, we'll come back. Don't worry, we'll be back.
So there's so much more to do there than just people can't breathe, right? There's a reason they can't breathe, and it's because their blood's turned into fucking 90 weight.
Right. So it causes coagulopathy. Yeah. So it like your blood gets thicker, it does the opposite of warfarin and blood thinners.
Exactly. So you can have like a heart attack due to COVID.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it was affecting kids. It was causing like arteritis and stuff, like just crazy stuff, it affects the immune system. It affects the nervous system. Like it's wild, man. It's definitely wild.
And that's what, like in the beginning, we didn't know what the fuck was going on because everything's like another day. You're like, wait a minute, it's doing what?
Mm-hmm.
And then then on top of that,
seizures now, like
exactly. And then so you also have what's the media? Is the media, we're getting back to the whole, do they even understand what the doctors are saying, right? Or what the press of the hospital is saying? So they're putting out oh, he died of COVID.
Right. Yeah. And there could just be communication discrepancies and stuff. And in the bottom line, like I'm saying all this stuff, but I wasn't there. Like I wasn't there when COVID first hit and all this stuff is going on. So I'm just saying from what I see now, and I haven't seen, people bolster numbers, and stuff like that. But
also to go back to you getting COVID twice, it just apparently you can't don your PPE.
Yeah. No, what's crazy? We talked about this in episode 2 is like, most doctors are, very efficient with their PPE and stuff and follow guidelines. But when you're not in a patient room or something and you're outside, like, especially in the emergency department, man, they've already been through it all and they saw all that stuff before. And now they're just like, they got their mask off. They're just like eating a sandwich, like right next to a COVID room. Like they've already been through it all. They just don't give a shit anymore.
They're burnt out.
Yeah. Oh, bro, for sure.
Dude, my wife's emergency room, when it first hit and they had like the PPE shortages and all that shit, Jerry and I used to do automotive stuff. So I had a mask, and I actually borrowed his 3M respirator. We both had one because all of her doctors and all of the ER workers, they didn't have any masks. They were using one mask in a week.
Yeah. That's
So
wild.
all the doctors were picking up 3M respirators. And I said, here, take this one. I borrowed Jerry's, gave it to her, and they were cleaning them with bleach. And I'm like, I understand where you're going with that, but that doesn't really work when it comes to a 3M mask. But okay, fine.
Yeah,
they were going nuts.
probably going to ruin the integrity of the mask, but
Just a
you're
little
doing
bit.
what you got to do.
So other than COVID, what kind of crazy shenanigans you been running into?
I mean, it's kind of, with the whole pandemic thing, it's kind of,
That's weird.
that's the only thing I've seen so far. So I'm trying to like separate, what the actual environment would be like without the pandemic versus with the pandemic. But yeah, I
Opioids,
guess, I mean, and the thing is, a lot of the stuff that I've seen, I'm guessing it's just like normal, like medical things, so we've seen a lot of other shenanigans. I mean, this is a funny story. I mean, just when it comes to the ER, I mean, first of all, just like the wide variety of patients, just like wild ass people, crazy people, but then there's also people who, oh, hey, I got abdominal pain. I'm not sure what's going on. I can't poop right now and stuff like that. And then you're like, okay, well, come on in, you do a full physical exam, work everything up. You're like, all right, well, I can't figure out what's wrong. We're going to do an x-ray, the abdomen, figure out.
14-inch dildo.
And then you see the dildo, it's just right in there.
Just tell us in the beginning. Why do
just
it
like,
work?
Hey, so this was kind of pertinent information. You have a dildo in your ass,
So how many of them, when you present that information, are like, what? How did that get in there?
yeah. Like, whoa. This COVID thing's really crazy. Put a dildo in my ass.
I was out of it last night, man. I had a fever.
Yeah. No, infectious disease guy. He's I can't believe syphilis is coming up again. It's so rare. But
Right.
syphilis. So he's like the guy in New York when it comes to like those more rare STDs. And so
Is he
people,
a perv on top of it?
He's pretty weird, but he's not.
Yeah,
He's
they all
pretty
are.
goofy. But he's like, one time he mentioned, he's like, this preacher came in and, he was shining all these obvious signs for, syphilis, and we tested him and it turned out positive. And he's like, look, you have syphilis. And the guy's just like, impossible, unbelievable. I couldn't have it. And he's like, look, it's almost impossible for this to happen, but let's just say you got it through shaking hands with somebody and you both happen to have a cut in the same exact place and then your blood transferred. All right, fine. But you have syphilis, so accept it, yeah. You just get people denying a lot of stuff.
Well, the thing with the dildo that gets me, if you
Mhm.
want to use a dildo, fine, go ahead. Why are you using it to the point where it's getting stuck in your ass?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't get it. Get a bigger dildo.
It's getting extreme. Or, just prepare. Have the string on the end of it,
Yeah,
in
pull
case
cord.
you need to fish that thing out. But, people don't prepare for the worst.
I heard stories of there's a prison nearby us that they all went to the hospital. My wife worked at, and they had a guy who just on the regular, like every 2 weeks, would shove AA batteries up his dick. It's like
That was like his
okay,
thing.
That's a big battery to get up there, man.
I honestly am a little bit impressed. And that to do it regularly.
Yeah.
Wow.
For the
Just
listeners,
Trying to work up to the C's.
For the listeners, yes, Grizz said up his dick, not up his ass.
Yeah.
Oh, did I break up there?
No, I just want to make sure that's really clear because that it hurts to think about.
It does hurt to think about. And why does he keep doing it? And does the voltage work?
Maybe that's why
the battery's still functioning.
You know, like
I'm
is he
worried about the
making
battery.
contact? Is there a circuit there?
When did you start medical school?
I started almost 4 years ago now, so like 3.5 years ago.
So he's trying not to pinpoint who he is, Jerry.
No.
I don't need exact
That's
dates,
fine.
just
No,
a
that's
rough
fine.
idea. And
March
that
12th.
here's my home address and my phone number. So
Social
that
Security
was that the
number.
point in time that you said after talking to people, I got to drop the social media?
Yeah, and honestly, I wasn't on social media a ton at that point either, but I was playing like a lot of video games. I was playing a lot of sports and stuff, so I completely cut out video games. I was like straight up like withdrawing, for like for a while. And then I would just like, all right, I can only play whatever sports like once a week, with the friends. And so yeah, that was big. But no, social media, honestly, I'm pretty bad as far as millennials go when it comes to social media. I mean, like I feel like I could post like funny things every once in a while, but like besides that, I don't know. I don't want to keep up with it. Like I kind of hate going on it. It makes me like feel bad.
So you were already an odd man out. So it's not like you really it's not like you really had like this drastic change. Like I know a lot of people who live on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To drop
a lot of people I know
school.
do. Right. So no, that wasn't a crazy shift. I wish I was more adept at it, especially for like this, for instance, and this would come more easier, but whatever. I'm willing to learn and figure out how to spread stuff. But I mean, it'd be nice if like I already had a bunch of like, well, it wouldn't matter because I'm anonymous, but if I already had a bunch of followers or whatever. But,
so have you seen in your hospital anyone get themselves into trouble because they are on social media saying some stupid shit?
I haven't personally seen it yet.
And we've all seen it on the news.
Yeah, of course. I haven't seen it yet. I know people who go on like probation for various things, sometimes unprofessional behavior, but I haven't heard specifically of anything about social media. I know it's a thing though. Yeah, again, like you've seen it on the news. Part of the clips of our intro is a doctor talking about unprofessional behavior on social media. So yeah, it's definitely a thing. And I will not be posting anything wild on social media. That's for sure.
So have you talked about anything other than, talking shit? Have you come up with like a crazy stance on a hot topic that you think if it came back to you, you're going to have a problem on your hands?
Sure. I think so. Besides talking shit about specific people, I think it's mostly talking crap about like I don't know, just the system in general, but I think that's fine. Like you can complain about that, I think a lot of
the system is fucked up.
Not this. It's not the system is fine. I think talking crap about the system is fine. Like you're not going to get penalized for that, but I think it's when you name specific people, you don't want things coming back to you. But no, I'm trying to think. I'm like, there's got to be some hot topic we have, or some hot take where it's like different from popular opinion. But I'd have to think about it. But it's a good question.
Yeah, it's gonna come back to Grizz says, "Let opioid people die."
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's certain things like that where it's like, look, the hospital wants us to do this, and I just don't agree with it. For instance, when I was in the GI rotation, we're looking at these, patients who are, let's face it, gastroenterology. Yeah. And they're fat as fuck, man. Sorry, can I swear? Yeah. They're huge, and it's like, all right, okay, let's look at their past medical history. Maybe they've got some reasons for this and they can't control it or something. But a lot of them, you look at their history and it's like, man, maybe if you just ran a little more, and consumed a little less calories, like I think you could make it happen, and you ask them more questions and you don't feel like they're giving it everything they got. And then, but they come in and, they're like, look, I want my whole stomach redone. I want you to pull out part of it and reattach this to there. And it's like, oh my God, like I could never do that job because I just don't agree with that at all. And it would kill me every surgery I did, to change this person's anatomy so
What's
that
that one called?
Obesity.
Yeah.
Well, that's the operation where they
it's called that. Some of them are gastric sleeves, other ones are gastrectomy.
Yeah.
I've actually, on that topic, I have actually offended some overweight people with my opinion on that. Because as you can see, I'm not overweight.
You look great, Cherry. Is that what you wanted?
Thanks. I was thirsty.
He's dying on the inside. Don't let him fool you.
But my opinion, being a person who is into fitness for the most part, on average, there's very few cases where this is not the case. If you're fat, it's a lifestyle choice. Now, I know a lot of people who are fat. In my opinion, I can't think of any off the top of my head right now who are medically fat. Because I'm sure there's, like, if you have a thyroid issue that's out of control, you're going to get fat.
People. Yeah. Right. Even then you can do your best to control it. Right. So even then it's still, something you can choose. Yeah. It's going to be a lot harder, of course, but it's still a choice, man. I don't know. I'm saying that as like a person with the metabolism of like amazingness, but
I'm a bigger guy and I don't mind being a bigger guy. If I wanted to be thin, I've been thin at points in my life. I was in the Marine Corps. You can't be in there fat. Like,
Yeah. And, a lot of people, I think what they take offense is they think that I have a problem with fat people. I have a lot of people I know who are fat that I love those people.
I have a lot of fat friends.
I have fat friends. It's okay.
Oh God.
I don't have a problem with you if you're fat. If you're fat and you're fat and you're comfortable.
Yeah. And you take responsibility for it, then I'm
if
fine
you're
with
like,
that
hey,
too,
I'm
right?
fat and I love it. Cool, man. Let's go get a beer or something. But if you're fat and you're like, I'm fat because I have bad genes. Well, your genes wouldn't be bad if you took a walk.
Right.
It's not
maybe help
obviously
your
not
genes
that
out
simple.
a little bit, man.
Yeah.
Damn.
But if your genes are making you fat, there's things you can do to not succumb to that.
Yeah, and I think in that scenario, what it comes down to is you're telling people what they know is true, but they don't want to hear. And that's what offending people is in general, right? You're telling something a true fact most of the time that they don't want to hear, and they don't like it.
And to go back on your question a little bit, so like I've seen doctors like say a lot of the stuff we're saying, and like not only totally get away with it, but like no one even questions them. And I mean that's just kind of they can do that. They're attending physicians now. They have a lot of they've been there a while, so they can kind of do those things. I'm in like the most sensitive part of the process, so I just kind of want to be careful with it. But also like I mean, it's sad to say, but when you're in a poor area and your patient population is people who don't really speak English and like all these other things, like you really have more leeway, and you could say, I mean, some of these guys say like really offensive things like right next to patients and stuff like that, and you're like, oh my God, like this is the most unprofessional thing ever. It makes me look like a fucking angel. But yeah,
that reminds me. So in poorer communities, there's a lot of obesity, and I think that's actually on average the government's fault. Now, I'm not one for big government or blaming everything on the government, but the government not bullshit. I do blame the government for a lot of shit.
Yeah,
and
you do.
Obesity is one of them.
Okay.
Obesity in poor communities is a lot to do with the government because they're on food stamps and they go out and buy food that we all have to buy, but they're on a restricted budget. Like I can choose to pay more to get healthier food. But if you're on a fixed income and food corporations are in the back pocket of government officials, you're going to get the cheap food and you're going to get fat. You're going to tell me that's not the government, Grizz?
It's not, because if you've ever been with anyone who's ever been on that stuff, do you know what most of it is? Fruit and veggies. There's other shit on there, but they like specific parts of it are like, yep, you can buy fruit and veggies, milk, crap like that.
Well, there's a lot of food stamps. You can get whatever you can get. It's not like they're saying you can't get all junk food, because a lot of people on food stamps can. But the issue is all the shit that makes you fat is the most affordable.
Well, so that's a different beast, right? Get off the whole food stamps thing. If you're not making a shit ton of money and you're not on food stamps, you can't afford the healthier crap. Like that's how it is. That's the shit that I would agree with you. Yeah, you're going to end up buying whatever carb, chip, crap, whatever, because chicken nuggets, because it's easier to afford.
Well, it goes deep and it goes superficial. Like, you can go all the way to like the subsidies for farmers and stuff, doing like corn-based stuff, or you can go, more, and then you could do patient education too. Oh, maybe we're not teaching them enough, or, it's like, hey, they're not willing to learn enough. I guess that's an argument too, or, there's the food stamps thing, and then there's the can't afford it thing. And so it's really at like all levels. But yeah, the government has to be partially to blame. I mean, if you say they have no blame, then you're just wrong. But
there you go, Grizz. You're just wrong.
Well,
they're just wrong. I said it.
Never did I say that I was right. Never did I hint towards that ever.
It's true though. I do blame the government for a lot of shit. But come on, Grizz. Look back at the last 50 years. How much fucking sinister shit has the government done that put us where we are now?
There's some goofy ass shit.
I don't disagree. I totally agree with you. And for a fact that I've seen shit that I'm like, oh, all right.
I mean, with nutrition and stuff too. I mean, the food pyramid. I mean,
the food pyramid and the bottom of it, they're just, eat carbs all day.
Love it.
But I think a lot of that stems from several different things. One, the 60s, the government just did whatever the fuck they wanted. And you also have, I think, movies play into it too, right? There are some government officials who are trying to do what they want to do. But I
You
think
talking about like Coke ads where they like have the label out or something?
like just in general, if you watching movies, no one in the government's ever done anything good in a movie.
Oh, so you mean like movies coloring people's opinion of the government?
No, again,
Okay.
I think the government's fucked because I've seen it firsthand and it's fucked. But I just
here you are sending me mixed signals again, Grizz.
That's what I do. Listen, if you want to know, if you want to know the government's fucked, just look at the fiscal budget. All right, the end of every year, they take all the fucking money from all their parties, pull it together, and spend it. That way, they'll have it again next year. That's a great spending plan. Boom, done. Like if you're asking me, the government's fucked. Yes, it is.
So
I think that's one thing that all parties can agree on.
Yeah. Now we were talking a couple minutes ago about social media, and this whole division between fat and not fat has reminded me of the metaverse. Either you know what this is? No? Grizz, you know what the metaverse is? That disappointed look makes me feel like you know it.
Metaverse? Maybe I've heard it. I'm thinking multiverse.
No. Metaverse. This is like an extension upgrade of the internet type of thing. I don't really know how to describe it fully.
What the fuck?
But Facebook is kind of responsible for implementing this. It's a combination of different big tech companies, and they're creating what is the metaverse, kind of an extension off the internet. And what this is going to do is it's going to create these virtual reality spaces. You've seen Ready Player One, you guys?
No, I know of it.
Basically, imagine a fully immersed video game.
Yeah, so it is an online space that you can occupy. So you put on whatever the VR shit is. And in the case of Facebook, Grizz, what do they have? The VR headset.
Oculus?
Yes, I think that's what it is. So,
dude, if you had that shit, there wouldn't be fat people.
No, that's what I'm getting at. I think it's going to get worse. So the metaverse is this 3-dimensional digital space, kind of like Ready Player One, where you go into this immersive world. And I think we're going to end up in this situation where people live there. Like they'll be in a bed somewhere, I'm sure, but they're going to be tied into this virtual system, into these digital worlds. And they're going to be like the fat people from WALL-E, where their bones start to disappear. And then you're going to have the digital people and the people.
Yep.
You follow?
Oh, you think it's gonna like almost divide itself?
Yeah, I think this is going to be an evolutionary divergence.
Huh. Okay. I like that.
I think that you got to have the I don't know what the foot thing's called that they had in that, so you could run in the video game.
It's just an omnidirectional treadmill.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like if you
those
had
exist
that,
now,
no one be fat. Yeah,
those
I
exist
know it
now.
does. I know. That's what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
know. I think you're still gonna have the people who are like, I'd rather.
Oh, you're absolutely gonna have the people who are like, fuck that. Why would I want to run?
Yeah. Right.
I just push this joystick.
Let's be real here, Grizz, though. If we end up in the next 10 years with a fully implemented metaverse where people put on their Oculus and they're in here, it's not going to be that much longer before it's tied into your nervous system and you don't have to move.
True.
Oh,
What I'm waiting for is when people are replacing limbs on voluntary.
I'll be doing it.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, pitchers are already getting like Tommy John surgery when they don't need it, so they can, they got more torque on their fastball.
So that's like an example, but I'm talking like
yeah, I know.
Replace your limb with like a fucking mechanical limb, like it feels the whole 9 yards, and now you have a sword that shoots out of it or something. Like when's that coming?
This has actually come up before. Grizz, I don't remember what you said. I said I would absolutely do that. My legs are pretty good, but I would totally chop them off and get bionic legs that were 100 times better than what I have now. My knees are fucked.
Knee replacements are a lot, but I think when you go bionic legs, I think at some point they'll make them cheap enough where it's like, man, I'll just replace them.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
Trevor, which one are you giving up? What body part are you giving up for a fake one? You can say dick here. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean the obvious answer. The obvious answer is my cock. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, we're going to have to be competing with these robotic entities that will provide the greatest sex ever seen. So, I think it'll be dick first.
With the sex robots.
It'll be dick first, and then honestly, bold take. I think I'm going to go intestines. I'm going to replace my intestines because I know I'm going to have some issues in the near future, and then we'll do something else.
That's a good point. I never even thought about internal organs. Grizz, I need new intestines.
He does. He does need new intestines.
It goes through easy, huh?
So as a doctor, I assume you know GI stuff, right? You were talking about working at GI.
To some extent, yeah.
So I have ulcerative colitis, which has come up a couple of times in this show.
That sucks.
AKA bitch internals.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's my superpower. I have to stay
so?
healthy. I have no choice. I
yeah.
have to stay healthy or I'll die, which is why
That's a
I
good
look
point.
glorious.
You know, most of the people I've seen with inflammatory bowel disease, pretty healthy. They got to take care of themselves. And it gets started like early on.
Shit if they eat crap.
Yeah. People, it happens to people who are like, 25 to like early 30s. So it's, they learn early on, like, all right, if I don't live healthy, my life fucking sucks. So
yeah, they bleed out their ass.
Yeah, like one of the worst things as far as I know.
I do have to say though that everyone I know who has it, and I can't speak for Jerry, but other people, they all got it like through drinking insane amounts of energy drinks.
Yes.
Oh, really?
That
I've
happened
never
to me.
heard that.
So
no way.
This is the weirdest thing because I didn't actually know that Grizz felt that way about it. Because I don't really know that many people that have it. It's not exactly a common disease.
I mean, I know like a handful.
Yeah,
but all of them.
That's more people than I know. I
think maybe one person. No, I don't think I know anybody personally.
Well, now you got one.
It's not common, but when I think I was 25 or 26, I was obviously not the healthiest person. I was an average American. I was never fat, but I wasn't healthy, and I started drinking Monsters. And that was because Red Bull didn't taste good to me. Now, in hindsight, I should have done Red Bull because it was a much smaller quantity. But I was drinking like 2 cans of Monster a day.
Oof.
Which even 1 can is way too much.
Yeah,
and
but I've seen people drink way more than 2 cans in a day. That ain't.
I went from before drinking that much Monster, I didn't drink any energy drinks. I didn't drink coffee. I just ate standard junk food. I loved McDonald's and shit like that, and I was fine all the time. I drink 2 cans a day of Monster for 6 months. Everything went to fucking shit.
No way.
Oh,
I believe it. That's just, that's wild though.
And of course I can't pinpoint it. Otherwise they'd be giving me a lot of money. But I just think it's fucked up that now Grizz is saying that he knows other people who he knows a handful of people, which is absurd that he knows a handful of people who have.
Yeah. But you guys have like a convention or something?
I do. It's in my living room every Thursday.
But they all feel as well that energy drinks triggered it.
No way. That's crazy. I mean, yeah, it might be a thing. Maybe there's some research on it. I don't know. But that's interesting. We didn't get taught that
after Jerry's dead.
Well, I'll be a good specimen because I'll be well preserved. My body's a temple. But anyway,
okay.
Back to what we were saying here with people with ulcerative colitis. Things like ulcerative colitis, where they don't really know what it is. They don't know what causes it. They just know it's an autoimmune disorder and it happens to manifest this way. You'll probably see more of this as you get further into your career. I've just seen it a lot because I have ulcerative colitis. Things like what I have they're not common. I don't think I can call it rare. I don't have the exact numbers.
Yeah.
I don't think I have the numbers anymore, but it's
not rare,
like
but it's not common.
It's not like it's in the tens of millions of people in the United States. It's well below that. So there's really no incentive to research or fix it. It's pretty easy for a pharmaceutical company to give somebody like me special anti-inflammatory medicine, charge me $1,000 a month for it, and say you're good to go. Just hopefully you don't die. Come back next month. There's no incentive for them to do the actual research because let's say I think the number was like 3 million people in the U.S. have it. If you cure 3 million people, you're not going to make your money back on the cure. It's not enough. So from a business perspective, I understand, but from a person who has it, those are fucking assholes.
I mean, it's easy to be naive about it because I know I was. It's like I always just assumed that the next most deadly and like virulent disease or genetic disorder is going to be the one that we work on next. Like, of course, that's going to be the thing, but
that's
it's
what you'd
not. Like the whole HIV epidemic was like really the first thing that made me go, oh, okay, so we don't treat the most deadly thing first. All these people are dying of this horrible disease, and like they weren't putting money into the research very much, and then we come out with Viagra, and it's like, oh, okay, so we're working on dick pills, instead of people who are just like getting every single illness because their body can't fight back against it. It's because I guess the gay people aren't they don't got the cashish behind them. I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's sad, but it's something important that I think, everyone should know is that, it's good lobbyists. It's like good things like that, or really just where the money is. Where's the money?
It's all about the money.
It's all about the money. Yeah.
It's about the green. With what you were saying with HIV and gays is that a lot of them got pissed at, I think it was Red Cross, because in their questionnaire, they'd ask if you were homosexual, and if you were homosexual, automatically you got denied, right?
What?
But you got denied because HIV is so prevalent within the gay community. Sure. And they were getting pissed at it. And it's like, listen, we're not trying to be an asshole and say you can't give blood because you're gay. It's because it's so bad. Like the HIV is ridiculous inside the homosexual community.
I have actually seen a lot of the questions like that when I first started to give blood when I was younger, which I'm not allowed to do now because I have ulcerative colitis. So when I was younger and didn't have it, I was blown away by the questions. So this is like 2006 was the first time I gave blood. And I'm reading through it. And of course it was like, are you gay? No, I'm not gay. Have you ever had sex with a man? No. And then what really got me was how ultra specific they were when they said, have you ever had sex with a man in Africa?
Oh, damn. That really...
Certainly not. But that's a really weird question.
Were you in Britain in the year 1996?
How big was his dick? Did you enjoy it? Like, what the fuck?
And yeah, I guess from a medical perspective, certain decisions in your life are going to put you at a greater risk. But I don't know the logistics behind testing the blood that they get. I would expect that they're looking at it at least to say, hey,
they do
this
test
bag's
it.
good.
There was a problem at some point, I don't know what year, where people were literally going to get their blood drawn just to get tested to see if they had HIV.
Oh, wow. That's wild.
So that's a big part of it. Now they literally say on it, like, we're not going to tell you the results.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't know all about the history of, blood transfusions and stuff, but I know that hepatitis C was an issue for a time because hepatitis C would just be in a lot of the blood bags, and then they would give it to people. And it's like, oh, you get hepatitis C just because you got a blood transfusion, but I think they're much better about that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's why they ask these like wild ass questions, they want to be overly cautious with it. But I mean, yeah, a big thing. I mean, shit, if you're listening to this, give blood. I mean, hospitals really need it. I mean, they'll pay you because it's really needed. And like, this person will be hemorrhaging. We're in the ER, I'm like doing compressions. I'm sweating my ass off. I'm like, how do I look right now? Is everyone, how am I looking? No. And
I have sweat on my back.
yeah. But no, we're like trying to resuscitate somebody. They're like dying, hemorrhaging. And we still at this point are considering like, all right, let's test their hemoglobin or something, make sure, or make sure their blood pressure is low enough that we're willing to give blood, because it's hard to come by. You don't just give it willy-nilly. You want to be careful with it, so there has to be extreme measures, to give blood.
There's a country that all right, yeah, you can make money giving blood over here, but it's nothing. There's a country, and I don't remember what it is. If your blood is used, which there's only a short period that your blood can be used. I think it's like 2 weeks or something, 3 weeks maybe. If your blood's used within like the first 2 weeks, they write you a check.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Because I mean, that shit, those bags are like $500 that you donate blood.
The empty bag that it goes into.
Yeah, because it's got like this filtration system, and it gets separated into 4 different parts.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics of it, but I know there's a lot of stuff. There's like additives they add into it, like they add citrate to like make sure that it stays good for a while, and they do other things too. But yeah, I don't know everything about it. But yeah, I'm sure they're expensive.
But yeah, so I mean, and then on top of it, what they get paid for a bag is a shit ton of money. So then this country, whatever it was, gives it back to you, and they just found with doing that, their donations went up a shit ton.
Oh, really? Yeah, I believe it. And this is a fact we actually brought up in our last podcast, but Ireland, their number 2 export from the country as far as GDP goes is blood and other human products. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Because apparently they have this
blood
like
alcohol content.
yeah. They just got really vigorous blood, so we try to give it to everybody. No, they have like the highest percentage of like O-type people in the world, and it's just so important because you can just give it without thinking. Oh yeah, congratulations, you're so special.
They fucking call me all the time. Serious, I'm dead serious. If you give, if you're O positive, O negative, which I'm O positive, as soon as they find that out, they would call me all the time. Like, listen, I fucking donated last week. Why are you calling me?
The O posse.
Yeah. We need more. I can't give it to you. You won't even let me give it to you.
Oh, really? Why can't you give?
No, I'm saying like if you donated last week, they won't let you donate. What is it, 4 weeks or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
I've donated a lot of blood.
Yeah, I used to donate regularly because I also have O positive, so they would harass the shit out of me.
Oh, nice.
But they stopped harassing me
after
in
a while, but I'm being a hypocrite. But
I don't. What's the one where they give it back to you?
Oh, when they want to get your plasma, so they take the they take the plasma and they give the rest back. I don't remember
some shit.
Or maybe maybe so they can get pure platelets. So I think maybe they give that back to you.
Like reverse.
Maybe if they just get red blood cells.
What do you guys mean by give it back?
So here, ready? So you get hooked up to a machine.
You drink it.
And they take your blood, take part of it out, and then you have to drink it through your ass. I mean, no, they put it back into your body.
It's crazy. You should see.
So you're only getting like the plasma or something back. I don't know. It's something very specific. Fuck that. Take my blood. I don't want that shit back.
Yeah. You like pulled it out through a straw. Like, I don't want it back.
Yeah. No, thanks. I know it's mine, but you've done something to it. Keep that shit.
But no, that is a thing. Cause sometimes you just get like packed red blood cells. Sometimes you just get platelets. And then sometimes you get the 1:1:1, which is the rarest one to have or whatever. So yeah, they do that.
And then there's the one that they do it because your iron's too high. I don't remember what that is either.
Oh, well, they just pull some iron out?
No, they take your blood. I don't know if they can do anything with it.
Yeah, I mean, they do it. I know they do it for people who have like gone through a lot of blood transfusions, so they start to get like iron overloaded, and then you can, apparently you can do that.
Yeah, if your iron's like wicked high, which is most people is not that, right? You're probably anemic. Especially most women are anemic, right? If your iron's too high, they just take your blood and throw it in the trash can.
And they just like give you new blood. Yeah. Or just let your body create new blood.
I think they let your body create it.
Yeah.
It's going to create it anyway.
Yeah. They had it right back in the day. Bleed them out.
George Washington was fucked.
He's not responding. Let more out.
Cut him more.
They did some ridiculous amount of his volume. It was like 80% or something, right?
Yeah. They're unsure. They think they might have just bled him to death. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to think about their logic. You got to think about the logic back then. George Washington was fucking huge, especially for the time. He was like 6'2" or 6'3" or something like that.
What does that have to do with draining him?
He's got more to give, so they were like, "It's not enough. We got to really take more."
Drain him, yeah. I mean, his lungs are infected. We have to pull his blood supply out, right, guys?
Get this poison out of here.
Actually, that's a great place to wrap this up. So, Trevor, or whoever you are.
Yeah, man.
So for people who want to do what you do, so as we said at the beginning, smart enough to go to medical school and dumb enough to do it. What is some advice that you could give them?
Sure. I mean, realize what you're getting into. You're going to have to work every single day at it, especially if you're not a smart man or woman. And I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that go into it. I know a lot of people like hate themselves, hate things that are going on when they're actually in the field, but there's a lot of redeeming qualities to it too. So if you really want it, go for it and put your full force into it. And I mean, so far I think it's worth it. Maybe I'm a naive little guy, but I'm excited for the future. So it's not all down, and we are making change, even if it feels like we're just in a cog in a machine sometimes. But
most importantly, pull cords on your dildos.
Absolutely. Put a little string on the end of your dildo. That is my other final advice.
And one more time for the listeners, what's your podcast? Where can they find it?
Podcast is Unprofessional. You can email us at thatisunprofessional@gmail.com. And take a peek at it. It's on Spotify. It's on whatever. It's on YouTube. So check it out. I'd love to have you.
Check them out.
Man.
Thanks for being on.
Appreciate you guys. That was fun, man.
Well, all right, Grizz, that was pretty interesting. I did have a lot of fun with the fact that he has a secret identity. He's basically hospital version of Batman.
Yes, but not the deep voice or the beating up criminals.
Yeah, not causing permanent disabilities to people for minor crimes.
You imagine?
But no, I like that episode a lot. I had a lot of fun talking to him, and I think the listeners are going to like it a lot. What'd you think?
I enjoyed it. He's up and coming, so give him some love. Head over to his channel, check him out. He's still figuring out all the ropes. Thank you again for listening to Beautiful Bastards. New episodes every Monday. Remember to like and subscribe. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
And remember, laughter's the best medicine, unless you're treating diarrhea.
That's true.